Can you hear me now? Oh my goodness. Am I going to have to start this over? The microphone was not working. Good grief. Good grief. The microphone was on mute. Whoever that was that texted in, I appreciate you telling me that the microphone was not working at all this morning. Okay, so we're 20 minutes into the show. Shit. This is why people have not been saying hi in the comment section. All right, let me go back here. And try to, well, put a comment out there. Okay, shit. I really apologize, folks. Gosh, this was great talk. I'm gonna just start over. Good grief. All right. So it happens. That's how we start the new year. Gosh, I got to try to remember all my banter that I had. Okay. So I'm back. The microphone is now working. I apologize deeply. There's somebody, the numbers, please come back. It might be too late. I'll have to put a note. If you are replaying later, fast forward to the 20-minute mark or so, because the microphone was failing. Sorry, folks. What a great way to kick the show off, huh? All right. So let me start over. I'm Dr. Jeff Evenson. Good morning. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm a board certified doctor of holistic health. I am not a medical doctor. I do not practice medicine. I don't treat, diagnose, or cure. I leave those words to the medical profession. Instead, I help people get their health back through natural health means, without drugs or surgery. Okay. So I'm going to start over here. January is sold as a starting line. Okay. New year, new you. Fix everything, change everything. Do it now. And I'm just reposting back on Facebook. You know, sometimes this happens. You can't. So frustrating. All right. So it's a new year, new you. The challenge is, and I put the show together. I'll just give you that quick backstory. I put the show together because I hear people and I see people coming in at the beginning of the year. They all have these New Year's resolutions. Well, I don't put a lot of stock in New Year's resolutions because they typically don't work. What it is it's a list of what you're going to do for the next week or two, and then you go back to the way everything else was. Okay, so hear me out on the show, and I will do my best to explain how we can use January as a great starting point. So we January we sell it is being sold to us as a starting line. It's a new year, new you. Fix everything, change everything, do it now. And every year I watch the same thing happen. People push harder than their body is ready for. They restrict, they detox, they overhaul their routines, And by the end of January, they feel worse, not better. Not because they failed, but because their body was never consulted. And here's the truth that most people never hear: the body does not recognize January 1st as a reset. It doesn't run on calendars, resolutions, or motivation. It runs on light, safety, stress, and available energy. And in January, most people are depleted because we have short days, long nights, holiday stress still sitting in our nervous system. Digestion has slowed. Adrenals are tired. Inflammation is already simmering. Then we pile change on top of that. That's not discipline, that's pressure. And pressure doesn't create healing, it creates resistance. And this is why January is the worst time to force change. Because what most people call lack of follow through is actually the body saying, I'm not ready yet. And instead of listening, we shame it, we override it, we work harder. And in my work, I don't rush healing, I don't force progress, and I don't mistake speed for skill. Because I've learned something important. Stabilization always precedes transformation. Regulation always comes before resolution. So today I want to slow this conversation down. I want to separate cultural pressure from biological reality. And I want to show you how January, when used correctly, can quietly set the tone for the entire year. Not by forcing change, but by preparing the body for it. So let's get into it. The January myth. Okay, January is not neutral. January is loud. January is aggressive. January is full of other people telling you who you're supposed to become. Everywhere you look, it's the same message: fix yourself, upgrade yourself, get disciplined, get serious, stop being weak. And most people don't realize this, but that message does not inspire change. It creates pressure. And here's the problem: pressure does not produce power. Pressure produces compliance, burnout, or rebellion, and the body knows the difference. January culture tells you that if you don't come out swinging, you're already behind. That if you're not changing fast, you're failing. That if you're tired, unmotivated, foggy, or resistant, something is wrong with you. That's a lie. Because January doesn't happen in a vacuum. Think about this. You're coming off months of stress, altered sleep, sugar, alcohol, travel, emotional load, family dynamics, financial pressure, late nights, broken routines. That just summed up everything from the timeline from Halloween all the way through Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all the family get togethers, all the stress that comes with all of that shit. Okay? And then January shows up and says, now perform. That's not leadership, that's abuse. The body doesn't respond to commands, it responds to conditions. And in January, the conditions are not optimized for force. Shorter daylight, lower vitamin D, slower metabolism, nervous system still wound tight from survival mode. So when you try to impose discipline on a dysregulated system, one of two things happens. You white knuckle it, excuse me, or the body pushes back. There's cravings, there's fatigue, there's inflammation, mood swings, symptoms flaring that came out of nowhere. Well, nothing came out of nowhere. That's feedback. And most people have been trained to ignore feedback and double down instead. So instead, they're going to push harder, restrict more, add another rule, punish that body into submission. That mindset doesn't build health. It builds resentment toward yourself. And here's the hardest truth. Most people don't fail their January resolutions because they lack discipline. They fail because they tried to dominate a system that needed to be stabilized. This is the myth that change starts with force, that growth starts with pressure, that results come from willpower. In real life, real transformation starts with control, control of the nervous system, control of inputs, control of timing. January is not about domination. January is about reconnaissance. And if you skip that step, you pay for it later. That's the setup. And now we can talk about why culture and biology are completely out of alignment right now. Because here's where culture and the body part ways. Culture says, go, push, execute, perform. Biology says, slow down, conserve, repair. And the body always wins that argument every single time. Because the body doesn't care about your vision board. It doesn't care about January 1st. It doesn't care that you promised yourself on December 31st. It cares about safety. So in winter, the human system is wired for conservation. Less light means altered circadian signaling. That changes cortisol rhythm. That changes sleep quality. That changes blood sugar regulation. That changes digestion. You are literally operating from a different internal environment. So when someone jumps into hard workouts, aggressive detoxes, fasting protocols, or extreme dietary restriction in January, they're not being disciplined. They're creating internal conflict. The nervous system hears that conflict as threat. And when the nervous system senses threat, it does one thing well. It protects. Protection looks like slowing metabolism, holding weight, increasing cravings, reducing motivation, amplifying symptoms that force you to stop. That's not weakness. That's intelligence. So if you're having trouble, getting your health back in, losing weight and all that kind of stuff, ask yourself, what is your system protecting you from? The culture teaches us to override intelligence with shame. You're just not committed. You're just not consistent. You just don't want it bad enough. No, your body wants safety before it will offer power. And this is the part almost nobody talks about. Most people enter January already dysregulated. Holiday stress never resolved. The sleep debt carried over. Inflammation is still elevated. Your gut is already irritated. Your adrenals are already taxed. Then we introduce change on top of instability. That's like flooring the gas pedal in a car with the parking brake still on. Something is going to burn out. This is why January feels heavy. This is why motivation disappears fast. This is why people feel like they're fighting themselves. They are. Not because they're broken, but because biology is being ignored. Culture tells us to dominate the body, but real health teaches you to lead it. Leadership starts with understanding the terrain, and January terrain is not spring. It's not summer, it's winter. And winter has rules. Ignore them, and the body resists you. Honor them, and the body prepares for growth. This is where most people get it wrong. And this is why resolution energy collapses so quickly when it isn't built on regulation first. Folks, I'm sorry for the technical glitches this morning. If you happen to be watching live, please throw something in the comment that says, "Hey, all is good. You can hear everything. You can see everything. Say hi. Tell me where you're watching from." I'm asking for that feedback from anybody who is watching. Let's see if anybody piped in. Nope. Yeah, for the first, I restarted the show 20 minutes in because somebody texted me and said the microphone wasn't working. All right. So we're going to talk about why resolution energy backfires. Okay. So let's talk about resolution energy because on the surface, it looks powerful. You're motivated, you're focused, you're determined. But underneath it, most of the time, is force. Resolution energy is the mind trying to take control of a system it doesn't understand. It sounds something like this: I'm done messing around. This is the year. I'm not letting myself off the hook anymore. And that sounds strong. But strength without regulation becomes aggression. And here's the truth: resolution energy is almost always rooted in frustration with the body. There's disappointment, there's shame, a sense that something needs to be fixed fast. So the mind steps in and starts issuing orders: cut this, add that, train harder, sleep less, push through. The problem is the body doesn't respond to commands, it responds to safety and capacity. Amy, thank you. I appreciate you popping in there and saying everything is good. I don't. I didn't want to restart the show again. Anyway, it responds to safety and capacity. Okay, so when resolution energy shows up, the nervous system hears urgency. Urgency is interpreted as threat, and when the nervous system detects threat, it shifts into protection mode. That's when things start to unravel. Cravings spike because blood sugar regulations get stressed. Fatigue sets in because energy reserves are already low. Digestion slows because survival always outranks repair. Old symptoms flare because the body is diverting resources. Then people say, "This isn't working." They think the plan failed. They think they failed. What actually failed was the sequence. You can't demand output from a system that hasn't been stabilized. Resolution energy doesn't ask the body if it's ready. It assumes readiness. And an assumption is expensive. This is why people don't quit in January because they're lazy. They quit because the cost becomes too high. It's too much effort. There's too much resistance. There's too much internal friction. So they back off or they self sabotage. They lose momentum. And then they carry that story for the rest of the year. I can't stick to anything. All the stinking thinking. I can't stick to anything. I always fall off. Well, I don't have the discipline. Well, that story isn't true. The real story is this: they tried to force change without first restoring control. Control of sleep, control of stress input, control of digestion, control of the nervous system. Until those are addressed, resolution energy will always collapse. Because force never creates sustainability, it only creates compliance or rebellion. And neither leads to health. That's why the next conversation matters, because there is a different order, a smarter order, one that works with the body instead of against it. Now, before I dive into that, I got to move this note down here. I'm actually going to try something new today. Of course, on a show that I had a technical glitch. I want to share. Go to my website, and under resources, there's a tab here called Trusted Resources. Okay. And scroll down. Since we're talking about personal growth, this is a great promotion here. I'm an affiliate of the Wake Up Warrior movement. Okay. And the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. All right. So before I move into the next segment, I want to say this clearly. Healing stalls when a man won't take ownership of his life. And I would argue also for a woman. Okay. Healing stalls when a man or woman won't take ownership of their life. And I work with bodies every day, but I also see where discipline, identity, and integrity are missing. That's not a supplement problem. If you know your health struggles are tied to lack of structure, follow through, or self leadership, I personally recommend the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. And it's not about motivation, it's about becoming the man who can actually sustain change. Now, the Wake Up Warrior Challenge was initially designed for men, but women can also take the challenge and for themselves, but they might also learn something about their men. And so in my website, there's a link at the bottom of the thing here, join the Warrior Challenge, okay? And it will bring you up to Warrior Expansion, how to unlock it. And folks, let me tell you this, this organization has been phenomenal for me in my personal growth because it got me out of my head, okay? You get stuck up here in your head and it's hard to do the things that I'm talking about here so far in the month of January and getting your health, regulated again and whatnot. It's hard to get there. So join the Warrior Challenge, and it might surprise you what you find. Okay, in that. All right. So let's talk about regulation before resolution. All right. This is where everything changes because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Regulation comes before resolution. Not because goals are bad, not because change is wrong, but because the body must be able to receive demand before it can respond to it. Regulation is not passive. It's not doing nothing, it's control. It's restoring order inside the system before asking it to produce. And when I talk about regulation, I'm talking about stabilizing the nervous system first. Because a dysregulated nervous system will sabotage every plan you create. I've been there. I'm an expert at self-sabotage. Most of us are, if you think about it. No matter how good your plan looks on paper, regulation means the body feels safe enough to let go, safe enough to release, safe enough to adapt. And safety is not emotional fluff, it's physiological. It's sleep that actually restores instead of just knocks you out. It's digestion that moves instead of inflames. It's breathing that stays deep under stress. It's energy that doesn't crash midday. Until those signals are present, the body is in defense. And a defensive system does not grow. So here's what most people get wrong. They think regulation comes after discipline. That once they clean up their diet, hit the gym, and push through discomfort, regulation will follow. It doesn't. Pressure does not calm the nervous system, it heightens it. Regulation comes from sequence, not intensity. So from meeting the body where it is instead, from meeting the body where it is instead of where you want it to be. When regulation is in place, something interesting happens. Change stops feeling heavy. Cravings lose their grip. Motivation returns without being forced. The body starts cooperating, not because you dominated it, but because you led it. This is why I don't rush healing and why I don't reward speed. Speed without regulation creates setbacks. Stability creates momentum. Resolution is still important, goals still matter, but they come second. They come after the system is calm, responsive, and capable. And when you reverse that order, the body eventually makes you pay attention. So the question isn't, what do I want to change this year? The real question is, what needs to be stabilized first? That's how real progress begins. Go lay down. You can't be part of the show today. Go on. All right. So what January is actually for? Let's talk about that. January is not broken, okay? It's just misunderstood. January was never meant to be a month of force. It was meant to be a month of awareness. This is the time of the year when the body tells the truth. Energy patterns are clear. Digestion reveals its weaknesses. Sleep shows you what it's been holding together. Stress responses become obvious. Not because things are getting worse, but because the noise has quieted enough to hear them. January is the assessment month. It's where you observe instead of overhaul, where you listen instead of demand, where you gather intelligence before issuing commands. This is the month to ask better questions. How do I actually feel when I wake up? What happens to my energy after meals? Where does stress land in my body? What symptoms show up when I slow down? Most people avoid these questions because they're uncomfortable. So they distract themselves with change. But skipping the step is exactly why progress doesn't hold later. January is the month to regulate inputs: light exposure, sleep timing, meal consistency, stress load, hydration. Not perfection, consistency. Small, stabilizing actions that tell the nervous system we're not under attack. And when the body receives that signal, it starts preparing for growth. That preparation is invisible to most people, but it's powerful. This is when inflammation starts to come down, when digestion becomes more predictable, when energy stops swinging so hard, when the system regains trust. And trust is everything, because a body that trusts you will follow you. January is not the time to prove discipline, it's the time to build capacity. The people who use January correctly don't look dramatic early in the year, but by spring, they're the ones who don't burn out. They don't fall off, they don't have to start over. They built the foundation first, and everything that comes after stands because of it. So the point there is lead the body, don't fight it. All right. So if you've felt this behind, if you've felt behind this January, this is where I want you to stop and listen. You're not late, you're not broken, and you're not lacking discipline. You may simply be trying to build momentum on a system that hasn't been stabilized yet. And forcing that never works. The body will always choose survival over performance. Always. So the real work isn't pushing harder, it's learning how to lead. Leadership doesn't start with demands. It starts with awareness, with timing, with understanding what the system in front of you can actually support. That's why I practice the way I do. I don't rush healing, I don't reward speed. And I don't confuse pressure with progress, because when regulation comes first, resolution becomes sustainable. Change stops feeling like a fight. Consistency stops requiring willpower. And momentum starts showing up on its own. So January doesn't need to be dramatic, it needs to be honest. And if you use it to restore control instead of force change, if you use it to restore control instead of forcing change, the rest of the year has a chance to work. So don't dominate your body this year, lead it. That's how real health is built. And that's how this year actually changes. So if this episode hit home, here's why, okay? Most people don't need another plan, they need clarity. They need to understand what their body is actually asking for before they push it harder. That's exactly what a quantum nutrition testing full assessment is designed to do. It gives me a clear picture of where your system is regulated, where it's stressed, and what needs to be stabilized first so progress actually sticks. Normally, that full assessment is $350. For today, I'm making it $199. Use the promo code READY199 when you book. And you can book online. I'm going to show you where. Look on the screen there. Right at the top of right here, start your journey. But before you click on that, right at the top, here's the code READY199. Okay. Then click on start your journey. And when you do that, you're brought to a page to make an appointment in person, by phone, or video. I can do telehealth, folks. I have people all over the country. I have clients all over the country, and I have people who are local, who prefer to be in person, or I can do it by phone. Some people don't like the video thing. All right. But let me tell you, this program is not for people chasing quick fixes. I don't have any overnight solutions. If you're looking for an overnight solution, go back to the medical system, get a medication, and hide that symptom, cover it up. Because if you're looking for that overnight solution, you're not ready to work a natural health improvement program like this. And I don't take every client that applies. Go through the full assessment. That process, we're going to give you a full assessment, look at your whole health history. But part of that process is learning if you can work with me and if I can work with you. Okay. It's for people who are ready to stop fighting their body and start leading it correctly. And I will teach you how to do that over time if you decide to work with me. And if that's you, now is the time. Let's get regulated first. Everything else follows. You select on the screen what type of meeting you want to have, and then the calendar shows up. And the days with the blue circle are available times on that day. Okay, just pick a day that works for you. Like, Monday, and then it goes out and it looks for times. Okay, on each of the days that I have availability. And once you select a time, then you can hit next, fill in your name, And at some point, it will ask you for that practitioner code, which is at the top of the webpage if you forget it. Ready 199. Okay. I'm going to close up here. Thank you so much for your patience as I sat here in silence and you got to watch me move my lips and not hear a sound for 20 minutes. That is so disheartening. I apologize. Please accept my apology for that. Sometimes it happens. It goes into the category unbelievable. How did I not see that? Um, but apparently it was meant to happen today, and have to respect that. And I'll respect that as we go into my closing prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you not asking for speed, but for wisdom, not asking to force change, but to understand the season we are in. You designed the body with order, rhythm, and timing. You did not create us to live in constant pressure, but to move in step with truth. Help us recognize when striving has replaced listening, when discipline has become punishment, when we've tried to lead our bodies with force instead of care. Teach us to honor the process you built into creation, to respect as to respect rest as much as effort, to see regulation as preparation, not delay. Give us discernment to know what needs to be stabilized before we demand more of ourselves. Restore clarity where there has been confusion, calm where there has been stress, and confidence where shame has taken root. May this year be built on wisdom, not urgency, on alignment, not pressure, and on trust in how you design the body to heal. We place this work, this journey, and every listener into your hands. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. You're welcome, Don. I appreciate you tuning in and listening. Let me remove that, get back. I should have did that before the prayer. Sorry. Um, I love that you guys listen. If we got a minute here, if any questions, pop it up in the comment section or comments. If you have any comments, post in there where you're watching from. That's always fun to see. And then we'll close. Grab my last drink of coffee. I'm pausing right now because I know there's a 10-second lag or so. So today, what's on the agenda? Oh, I'm going to show you. Let's see here. This was Louis. I discovered him. He went to bed early the other night. I lost track of him. He went to bed. Yeah. He looked really comfortable and cozy. Dogs, you got to love them, right? All right. Well, that's all I have for you folks. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I apologize again for the technical glitch at the beginning of the first 20 minutes of the show. If you happen to be, well, it's too late now, but I put it in the comments. Fast forward to, if you're watching the replay, to about the 20-minute mark, and you'll hear the beginning of the show. I did restart it. So talk to you guys later. I love you all. Have a great weekend.